Started with the seed grant from the Institute of American Cultures. We also recently have received funding through the UC New Racial Studies Forum, and we have received through UCHRI, the UC Humanities Research Institute. It's hard remembering all those acronyms sometimes. And with generous funding, we were able to put together community workshops and to think through how the spaces of Indigenous LA are multi-layered with different stories and different concepts of geographies. And in our process, we actually thank the Eastern Oceania concept to Cindi Alvitre in our conversation, where she chatted with us that many of the Tongva see themselves as the eastern nation of the Pacific, which is a great way of rethinking our geographies, and to think also about the processes of colonial geographies and how they made us think that because the Tongva are on the continental US, that they might have more aligned with the Navajo, say, or the Lakota peoples, when in fact, really, the canoe cultures is one of those indigenous crossroads and indigenous crosscurrents that can bring us together to help us rethink geographies that have largely been put in place through militarism and colonialism. And I hope that this conversation will be fruitful, and I hope if any of you are interested in learning more about Mapping Indigenous LA, you can speak to me after, or you can always come by my office hours. We're always looking for some student interest in this topic as well. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Keith, who will be making the introductions. Thank you. Professor Camacho.
Thank you, Professor Lopez. Afternoon, good morning. Morning.
Good morning.
Awesome. I just want to thank Mishana, Wendy, Maybe, Addison, the whole crew, Craig, Cindi, Mario, Kehau, Charlie, everyone for being here today. I know you're all busy. So I'm here for introductions. Marcus is running late, and then our format is as follows. It's 15 minutes per person. We begin with Cindi, Mario, Marcus, and then Kehau has some closing, or not closing, segue comments to our broader Q&A. And so hopefully have some time for some questions and answers. So first, Cindi, thank you, Cindi, for being here. Is a mother and grandmother and has been a cultural environmental educator for over 3 decades. She is descendant from the Tongva, the original inhabitants of Los Angeles and Orange counties, and the 4 southern Channel Islands, and served as the first woman chair of the Gabrielino Tongva Tribal Council. In 1985, she and Lorraine Sisko co-founded Mother Earth Clan, a collective of Indian women who created a model for cultural and environmental education. In the late 1980s, she co-founded Tian Society, renewing the maritime culture of the Tongva. Cindi is currently a PhD candidate at UCLA Department of World Arts and Culture, and is a lecturer at California State Long Beach in the American Indian Studies program there. Her specialties are California Indians, traditional medicine, cultural identity, revitalization, and cultural trauma. Cindi is a task force member for the state of California, California Indian Heritage Center, and a board member for the California Council for the Humanities. As a social political activist, she has represented her community domestically and internationally, including opening for the Nobel laureates Rigoberta Menchú Tum and His Holiness the Dalai Lama. That's what I'm doing here with Jamal, trying to transliterate these words. She is one of the original plaintiffs as well in the Puvunga case during the 2-year occupation of this sacred site. She continues to dedicate her life to the preservation and protection of California Indian culture. To Cindi's right is Mario Regis Borja. He is the son of a carpenter and a fisherman. Mario is also a Chamorro linguist and a cultural educator. He's traveled extensively to Palau, Guam, other parts of Oceania. As a linguist, for example, he provides interpretive services for the federal and civil courts. So if you ever get in trouble with the law, you have an able and willing translator. As an educator, Mario also teaches the art of seafaring through the construction of the flying proa, the ancient flying proa. And Mario is also the founding member of the Chamorro nonprofit organization Chetlu from San Diego, and a key advisor for the upcoming Festival of the Pacific Arts in Guam, which is the premier cultural festivals that brings the Anglophone and Francophone Native Pacifics together. And the next one is in June 2016, and Mario is playing an instrumental part in the planning. And then we have Marcus Lopez, who was born in Santa Barbara, California, and is part of the Elders Council of the Barbareno Chumash Council of Santa Barbara, and is co-chair of the Barbareno Chumash Council as well. He is a culture practitioner and the senior captain of the Chumash plank canoe named the Elliott Woon. Marcus has been the captain of the Tiot, the Tonga plank canoe as well. And in both vessels, he has been instrumental in building and successfully organizing accomplished voyages throughout Catalina Island and other sites in California. And then finally, Kehaulani Vaughn, to the left of Cindi, is a visiting professor in Asian American Studies at Pittsburgh College and is a doctoral candidate in ethnic studies with a specialization in indigenous studies at the University of California, Riverside. Before returning to her doctorate, she completed 2 graduate degrees from UCLA in Asian American Studies with a specialization in American Indian Studies and higher education. She is also a co-founding member and current board member with Empowering Pacific Islander Communities, also called EPIC, and has worked in outreach and retention issues within higher education at a professional and voluntary level over the past decade. Kehaulani is also a member of the Hine Moana of Turtle Island, which is an indigenous feminist hui with political and genealogical ties to the Pacific. Kehal's current research looks at intra-indigenous collaborations, specifically between Pacific Islanders and unfederally recognized California Indian tribes as direct embodiments of Native self-determination and sovereignty that actively regenerate social and political futures for their communities. Everyone, please give a warm hand and props to our host today.
Can you hear me? Do I need the microphone? Oh, okay. This is like rock concert stuff, huh?
Rock concert, hey. Mayhem. And I want to, I'm very honored to be here amongst these beautiful people. Mario, to our Chamorro brothers, to our Hawaiian sister, to my brother Charlie Sepulveda, to my brother Craig Stone, to everybody, Shauna, Keith, and all of you lovely people here too, because you know it's always an honor to be able to have this opportunity to share with you, going back to what I call indigenous sensibilities, and that means going back home. We have a song like that, says it's going back home song, telling people to go home to your ancestors. So what I want to present very, very quickly is about our maritime culture, and I guess I'm capable of doing this, right? Just to kind of reorientate you with where you're at. And I want to tell you the story of how there's a model over here of Momarahiko. Momarahiko is our Tiot. She was born in my dream. That's my tatau, my tamoko, my tattoo on my arm.